Well, folks, this is a momentous day. It has been almost 6 months, the longest I have gone without doing any kind of video recording since I started doing this three and a half years ago. In the time, I have had a wonderful, wonderful year of business. And we've moved across states. So things are finally settled. We're through the Christmas holidays and it's back. When I last saw you, this was 6+ months ago, we had started a process on how the stages of team development actually look. I like Tuckman's model, forming, storming, norming, performing, but it only goes so far and it didn't really reflect how I've actually seen teams develop. I introduced to you this presentation, this steps from assembling, faking, storming, norming, and acceleration as a way to more accurately describe how I've actually seen teams go through stages of development and or get stuck. So with that, look at the other videos. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how you, if you are a facilitator, if you're a team lead, how do you help encourage progress through the stages of development? Because we know that when people are performing at higher levels, when teams are, that more is getting done and people are more engaged. So what can you do? Here we go. Let's suggest a few steps. Now, the first thing I think you should do is actually teach this progression. There's something about putting this in front of groups, and if they understand the different steps, they can diagnose themselves. Then there's this kind of gravitational pull upwards. They want to get to higher levels and they see where they are in the gaps. So teach them this. Then create the space for them to be where they are. You can't force progress, but you know, they are where they are, so let's acknowledge it and let's talk about it. Throughout this, our ability to improve kind of rests on our increasing ability, I'm saying we, on the team, to be honest with one another and to be open. So you as the facilitator model that. Model vulnerability, model clear speaking between each other and standing up and saying what we actually mean. Facilitate for maximum involvement. That is, don't let one person dominate. Continue to ask open-ended questions. Get people going, because the more we're talking and opening up, the more we're going to grow. So applaud, provide your own perspective. You can't coerce them. That is the real and somewhat frustrating part of this, is that we can't make teams move forward. But as we could show this to them, people want to do better. We don't like staying in the storming phase. We don't like faking it. So anyway, now when they're at particular stages, here's some tips at each stage for what you can do. So when they're first coming together, they're assembling, they don't know each other, just be the safe person. The casual competence reference, this is particularly for you if you're a facilitator, if you're a team lead, if this is some kind of team building retreat or something like that, is don't go in with the war stories. Don't go in kind of trying to make a big deal about yourself and how great you are and what you've seen in the past. Casual competence was coined by, or I first saw it by Carl Ronke. God bless him, kind of one of my heroes, but he passed away last year. But anyway, casual competence, that is, don't draw attention to yourself. Just be cool and and let them take center stage. Teach the full value contract and challenge by choice. Well, full value contract, I've got a slide on. The idea is, hey, when we're first getting together, let's just have some basic guidelines that will enable us to be real with one another and to grow. Again, I'll talk to you about what that is in just a moment. The term full value contract was trademarked by Project Adventure. So challenge by choice also, that is, don't force them into doing any part of the team development work. That's there, you present it, you don't drive it. And then activity sequencing. This is if you're going to be doing experiential work with them. You've got to know something about how do you set up the activities to not be too, not call for too much trust or fear, fear inducing from them at the beginning. Just being in a new group can be challenging for folks. So let's see. When they're at the faking stage, remember the faking stage is when they have their first good conversation. And then they think and are talking like, oh yeah, we're already a high-performing team, when in fact they're not. They're, as soon as they get into a challenging circumstance, they're going to start storming, okay? There's going to be friction. But right now they're just patting themselves on the back. What can you do? Well, you don't want to deflate them too much, but you can ask them, and to get them to start being real. So what are you actually looking at and thinking at that tells you you're a great team? Applaud the things that they say that are true and real. And then have them think about what a next goal might be like for them. Okay, so, and you don't need to say, no, you're really not there yet. You don't need to. You can just say, okay, great. So we're hearing ideas from one another. You can at this point also offer up, are we really hearing ideas from everyone? Are we sharing? Are we listening to one another well? So you can kind of seed the higher level behaviors that they need to be employing to really move forward. When they're in the storming phase and there's friction and all of a sudden they're fussing and fighting, encourage frankness, but teach them to fight fair. Teach them to use things like I messages, to speak for themselves, to truly listen to one another. Help them reflect on what they're seeing and begin to draw. But when they're storming, they're really stuck in themselves. They're not getting their individual needs met, but they're also not thinking about the needs of other people. And that's the kind of the perspective shift that we want to see. When they get through storming and they realize, aha, wow, we really do need to, we're not as good as we thought, and we really want to move in that direction. And that's really the kind of the shift from one to the other up in stage is let's make sure that the norms that they're creating really do reflect the will of the group as a whole. I'd encourage you at this point, if you haven't done so already, to teach the pyramid, the 5 behaviors pyramid. Again, that's one I'll introduce to you briefly on an upcoming slide. But this then shows them the kind of behaviors that they want to make norms around so that they're speaking and working and progressing effectively. Finally, when they're accelerating, they're normed, they're living into these. They really are experiencing now some of the success that they were only kind of faking at the very beginning. Celebrate it, right? Call out the good things that you're seeing and invite them to start verbalizing the successes that they're seeing, and then also the things that don't quite measure up. We want to, in terms of ongoing group health, we want to make people feel safe, to speak clearly about both the successes that they're seeing and the issues that they're seeing, so that we can address them and deal with them effectively. So that is how you can encourage at each one of the steps. Now, the full value contract, I mentioned that to you. This is the what would you like the group to agree to at the very beginning of their journey. Let's say they've just been chartered by the executive team, and we're a project team. We've got to launch this new product, roll out this new IT initiative within our company, whatever our task is. Hey guys, as we come together, here's 4 things I'd like for everyone to understand, and let's get agreement on, and let's use this as the basis for our continuing growth as a group. One is, I personally, and this is each person talking for yourselves, I will work toward our goals. And while that goes without saying, it kind of doesn't, right? No, I will do it, and if you'll jump to number 3, I'll actually give 100%. I'll give my best efforts to this particular project. Jumping then back into number 2 is I will stay safe and help everyone else stay safe. This comes out of the ropes course field. This was when actually physical safety was a real concern, but this 100% applies because in today's world, the concept of psychological safety, where we collectively create the environment where everyone is respecting towards one another, and we're inviting everyone to say what they really think, and we're accepting those inputs. When people feel safe, then they're bringing their best, and without that part, they're not going to give the 100% even if they say they will. And as part of that, I will give and receive honest feedback. Now, there is definitely overlap in terms of what you're actually doing with these. There's a lot of overlap between the 4 of them, but you want the group to agree to all 4. And then this serves as your initial basis to hold them accountable for their own team development. You help them remember, hey, everybody, we're working towards the same goals. We're all giving 100%. We're all working for psychological safety. And as part of that, we're giving and receiving honest feedback. That's how we are. With these in place, the group will move forward through that progression, and you'll be able to guide them to higher levels. The last piece that I want to share with you, and this is another conceptual piece. You can do it later. I think that's what I recommended 2 slides ago. But you can also, I've used this actually in the place of ground rules. When I have a group together for a retreat, I oftentimes start off just pulling out a flip chart and starting to draw this pyramid and say, hey, let's talk about how great teams work together and what we'd like to see from the day. Now, back to this, we're talking about an intact work group. Teach them about the importance of trust. That with trust, where we can actually, and again, synonymous, I'm using it synonymously with psychological safety. When there is real trust and respect among us, that enables us to then speak freely and clearly and storm about the right things, which are ideas. When we are able to conflict well, then we can come to a level of commitment and truly buy into whatever path we're saying forward. We're saying we're going to follow going forward. When we have real commitment, then we can hold one another accountable. And we can all focus on the group's higher, what do I mean? Without real team dynamics, and that's what you see on the screen in front of you here, people are going to tend to focus on what butters their own bread individually. This is bringing them back to that 1 or 2 reasons that they are together and working together as a team. That they need to all buy into, that's going to take their collective efforts. So it's those results, the collective results, that needs everybody's commitment. Now, I just inundated you. There's so much here. I've got so much going for this coming year. I can't wait to share with you. So I welcome your comments, your questions. Team development is such a great thing. I hope that in this year, you and the teams that you work with really begin to grow together, that you experience greater levels of success, and you experience kind of the fun that's part of being on a great team. Use some of these tips, and again, if I can clarify, reach out to me. Otherwise, I will look forward to the next video, seeing you on the next one. Thanks so much.